I have a cool story to tell and also something to report that I'm very happy about, because I've been telling you guys in the past, I don't really have locals and I miss that part. I don't often get to just play around and test different ideas that much as I would maybe like to. And I kind of miss that from like back in the day of just like going to locals once a week and just like having some fun with the game and all that. So I was very, very happy to hear that a locals opened very close to where I live, and they held their very first locals last Saturday. And so I went, and because Legacy of Destruction just came out, I built myself a Lightsworn Runick deck because I like the new Lightsworn cards, and you already know I'm gonna try them with Runick first. So yeah, Saturday was the day I learned about Runick Lightsworn. But before we get into the deck profile, I have a funny story to tell. The store that is hosting the locals, it's not a new store. They've existed for quite a while. They just haven't done Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments. They've been doing other card games, and they've had like a small Yu-Gi-Oh community of people that just met up there and played, and they never had tournaments, but now they do. And so the store owner doesn't know that much about Yu-Gi-Oh, and so when he went to register his tournament in like the Konami system or whatever, and he was met with two options, right? Do you want to register it as a traditional tournament or an advanced constructed, right? And he was like, well, I just want the normal Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, so surely that's traditional, right? So I'ma just announce it. I'ma just register this traditional Yu-Gi-Oh thing that everyone wants to play, right? That's what traditional sounds like, right? So by accident, the first locals that I went to was a traditional locals. I found that out one day before I went. I was like, dude, I just want to play my deck. I hope everyone is going to be on the same like mindset. I hope everyone just brings a regular deck, right? Because all the normal stuff is legal in traditional as well. Like traditional is the same format plus the banned cards at one, right? So I was just hoping like everyone would bring their normal stuff to the tournament, right? So I show up with my advanced legal Runick Lightsworn, and I was hoping everyone else would do the same. And for the most part, that was true. I was talking to some people before the thing started, and everyone was like, yeah, we just have our normal decks, don't worry about it, it's all good. So I'm like, cool, let's just play. This happens round one, game one. My opponent starts and goes Graceful Charity, discards 2 spell cards, and activates Engage. It gets better. I win game one still. Game two, because he's playing Blind Second Sky Striker with like all the power spells, makes me go first. I activate a Runick to special summon. Bro, this card's max seed. This card's at 1 in traditional, by the way. It's at 1. And then later on in the same game, I banish his Mystic Mine. What the hell was going on? I was able to defeat the War Crime Sky Striker deck. No one else had banned cards in their deck. It was literally just that one guy that I played against in round 1 who was trying to have some fun with banned spell cards in Sky Striker, which was whatever. It was kind of fun still. But yeah, I brought Runick Lightsworn to the thing. I did go 4-0 with it, defeating one player with banned cards in their deck. Think of that whatever you will. I'm going to show you the deck list, but obviously, since this was a locals, don't interpret too much into this, right? This was just a concept that I was trying to play around. I was trying to see how it feels. I'm going to show you how I built it, and maybe you can take some inspiration from it, right? Because it's a locals after all. I was trying to have some fun with the deck. I don't think it's the best deck in the format. That's still Snake Eyes, but I felt like it's playable. Anyways, without further ado, I was playing Runick Lightsworn with the new Lightsworn cards from Legacy of Destruction. The idea behind this deck, the new Lightsworn package provides you with level 4 bodies. A lot of them are tuners. You get to mill a decent amount of cards, which if you have Runick stuff up, obviously gets you to a lot of free draws with a Runick Fountain. There were turns where I drew like 9 cards in turn 1 with Fountain, because you just always have 3 because you mill so many cards. It's pretty fun. As well as you can pump out level 6 synchros, level 8 synchros, level 10 synchros. Theoretically, you could even do level 12. The extra deck is probably the biggest part to be experimented with, because I was finding myself in all kinds of weird situations where I could have even used like level 12 synchros and all that. But I'll just show you what my initial version of the deck looked like, and then you can take it somewhere from there. 3 Lightsworn Dragonling. Honestly, the best card, I would say, out of the new set. You need a Lightsworn in your graveyard, then he special summons itself, and then you get to send a Lightsworn card from the deck to the graveyard. If it goes to the graveyard, it also lets you search a Judgment Dragon or a Punishment Dragon. However, I didn't play either of them, so the second effect I didn't get to use. You could consider running one of them just for the free ad, and then maybe overlaying it together with the Minerva Synchro into a rank 8 Exceed. I wasn't doing that, but you could try that. And then also 3 Weiss. Weiss, out of the 2, was the weaker one for me. What Vice does is you place a Lightsworn card from your hand on top of the deck, then it special summons itself and you mill 2 cards. And if it's sent from the deck to the graveyard, it reborns a Lightsworn in the graveyard that isn't Vice. So what this card is meant to do, it's a tuner, which is really important, but it's meant to unbrick you if you draw your Wolves or Fellis, because you play those. And if you have those in hand, you have Vice to put it on top of the deck. Vice special summons itself and you guaranteed mill the Wolf or the Fellis because you just put it on top of the deck, right? And then here are the kind of iffy cards of the deck. The Fellis and the Wolf, when they get sent to the graveyard from the deck, they summon themselves. Fellis needs to be sent by a monster effect. That's important, right? This one does not work if you hit it with charge or solar recharge. Wolf does. These are here as combo pieces for like Lightsworn Dragonling sends Fellis and you go from there. If you draw them, you want to put them back on top of your deck with Vice, or you discard them with solar recharge. This is where your tuners are mainly coming from, right? You have 3 Fellis and 3 Vice, as well as 1 copy of Raiden. Raiden is your normal summon in the deck. Wolf and Fellis unfortunately cannot be normal summoned. Raiden, just in case you have like no combo stuff going on, when you activate like charge, you can get you a normal summon level 4 tuner that mills 2 more cards. And at any point, why I like these Lightsworn cards is that you have a lot of stuff that's actually not dependent on milling good cards, right? For the most part, all of your stuff is guaranteed, right? Like if you can get a Lightsworn into the graveyard and then special Lightsworn Dragonling, from there on out, not a lot of random stuff is happening. Like you have a guaranteed mill from the Dragonling, you make the Minerva level 8 synchro that sends 2 guaranteed bodies from the deck to the graveyard, and then you have some random mills, but whenever you do, it's just a bonus, right? It's not required to hit anything, but if you do, it's just really insane. In order to complement these cards, you play 3 solar recharges. Here's where the Edison collection came in clutch. This is important, I think, because you do want to play Fellis and Wolf probably at 3 copies, which is a little bit risky because drawing them is obviously annoying unless you have access to Vice. And then obviously there's 3 charges. The Edison collection did not come in clutch for this one because I only had 1, but it's fine. If you draw Fellis or Wolf, you have 9 cards that basically combo with them. And worst case, you can discard them for a Hugin, right? And this is the Lightsworn package. I'm not sure what else you would want to do with this. I've seen some people suggest that you can do some Geralt combos to draw some more cards. I'm not sure. Potentially something I want to look into. Once again, because this was quote unquote just a locals, I just wanted to try out some stuff. My biggest issue with the deck, I feel like, was that sometimes I was drawing Fellis and Wolf without any of the other 9. But honestly, 9 other cards that make the Fellis or the Wolf live, it seems fine. This is like about as standard as it gets with 17 and 2 Runick Fountains. And now I'm gonna say the line that I say in every single Runick deck profile. I wish it was more, because you can really go crazy in this deck with like how many you draw on the first turn. And this is honestly the main way how I was also dealing with cards like Nibiru. I got Nibiru a couple times, but the thing about this deck is because it has so many Runicks in the graveyard at all time, you just never lose hand advantage. You get Nibiru, fine, you lose some of your bodies, but your hand is still pretty big, so that always kind of works out in your favor. So this is 38 cards. I had 2 more slots for non-engine, and I did something that I don't think is something you would expect for non-engine from this deck, but I decided to play this as my non-engine because this card is pretty good when you draw it going first. It's not only good to draw, but it's also good to mill. Obviously, this could be talents, this could be evenly, this could be whatever, right? But all of those tech cards don't do anything when you mill them, and this deck mills a lot. This card is even good going second sometimes, like, because you can use it instantly when you get it into the graveyard. As an example, let's say your opponent's playing Snake Eye and puts an IP Masquerena into their spell and trap zone, and you start with like a charge of the Light Brigade and you hit the Black Goat Laughs. In that case, you can just activate the Black Goat Laughs and call IP Masquerena. They can summon it out, but they can't activate it. So this card can help you play into boards going second. You can discard it for Hugin if you draw it. It was pretty solid for me. I don't know if it's the best non-engine the deck can play, but I was genuinely interested in playing a non-engine card that was good when drawn and when milled, so I kind of liked it. You could also think about Ishizu Shufflers the same way for pretty much the same reason. That could be another thing. Isn't the Lightsworn Trap better? The Lightsworn Trap I think is worse because the Lightsworn Trap requires you to keep Lightsworns on the field, right? And you most of the time don't want to do that. And the Lightsworn Trap is also not impactful at all when you go second, right? What did you play against? Like I said, I played against Sky Striker round 1, I played against Lightsworn round 2, I played against Labyrinth round 3, and I played against Branded round 4. And that's the main main deck, 40 cards. The core idea is just try to draw Runick's plus Lightsworn cards, start milling, start synchro summoning, and work from there. For the extra deck, I played 2 Hugin and 2 Gary. Gary is phenomenal in this deck because level 4 is honestly sometimes better than level 2 or often better than level 2. At the same time, this never happened, but you can theoretically, if you get lucky and you mill a fountain, you can get it back from the graveyard without having to discard for Hugin, which can be very good. And in general, I just did a lot of fountain over fountain, add back fountain with Gary, because you just have so many Runicks in the graveyard, you can almost always cycle the fountain just one more time to draw more cards. And then for the synchros, okay, so the one that I make the most is Coral Dragon, because it lets you turn Hugin and a level 4 tuner into another tuner, which you can then proceed to synchro with another level 4 into other stuff. Triage Master didn't come up that much. I don't think I summoned it more than once, simply because most of the time I wanted Coral Dragon because it was a tuner, but I figured this was still maybe worth it. And then I played Omega. One of the main ways as well how this deck can deal with Nibiru in some way, shape, or form is you can make an Omega very, very early. At that point, your opponent has to consider, well, do I Nibiru this Omega or do I risk losing my Nibiru? And then if they let the Omega go through, you have a chance of hitting the Nibiru, but even if you miss, you've taken away another card from their hand. If they decide to Nibiru you right there, then you can keep playing after. Another one that's really, really good is Minerva. This card is absolutely custom, honestly. So the way this works is it's a generic level 8. If it's synchro summoned, you send Lightsworns with different types from your deck to the graveyard up to the number of Lightsworns that are used for this card as material. If you go for Lightsworn Dragonling, send a Felis, you have these two, you make the Minerva out of them. Because the Minerva was made with 2 Lightsworns, you get to send 2 other Lightsworns with different types from the deck to the graveyard. Now, you can unfortunately not send Felis and Wolf because they are both Beast Warrior and this card says different types. But what you can do is you can send Felis or Wolf and Vice, because Vice is a fiend. So the Wolf will bring itself back and the Vice will bring the Felis back. This card basically is free because it replaces the 2 bodies that you use for it instantly. And then on top of that, the card allows you to banish up to 4 Lightsworns from your graveyard and mill that many cards. So this basically summons 2 monsters and mills 4 cards. Basically just loading your graveyard up with more Runicks, or you can also hit like more Wolves, more Felis. And then for the end board stuff that you want to go into, I have a Dispatter here. The main way you summon Dispatter is with Coral Dragon and Dragonling, because Dragonling is a dragon. The things you revive with Dispatter, if your hand is really, really good, you can do an early Omega and then just bring that back with Dispatter and banish 2 cards from their hand, which I did a couple of times. Another one that you can easily do is you can banish something for Minerva, whichever you want, like another tuner, and then make it Dispatter and bring that one back. And then there's a Changing, and that's all of the synchros. Sometimes I low-key wanted more different synchros, but I did play a bunch of Exceeds because this deck is also really, really good at just like spamming rank 4 Exceeds, and I felt like those were actually quite important. So the 2 main ones that I was making on turn 1 combos were the OG Minerva. I didn't make it very often because in direct comparison between the 2, this one can also be pretty insane because it mills 3 cards, and if you hit any Lightsworns, which you play quite a lot of, you can get a lot of cards out of it, but if it misses, it does basically nothing. So because it's not guaranteed, I didn't find myself making this very, very often. But I still feel like you want it because it has the potential to go super, super crazy. And then the rank 4 that I made the most by far was yugioh Emerald, because this deck mills a lot, goes low on deck cards really, really fast, and also turbos through your Runick monsters a lot. This card was very, very essential. And unironically, if this card wasn't limited right now, I could see myself playing 2 of this just so you never run out. Most of the time I would recycle 3 extra deck monsters with this to get an extra draw and put this on, and then I would turn this into like an SP Little Knight. I played 2 utility rank 4s, which I did not make, but I think in theory could come up, and that's Bagooska and Exciton Knight. So far, I consider all of this mandatory except for maybe the Minerva, the Exciton, and the Bagooska. And then I played SP as number 15, simply because the deck doesn't really want to link summon most of the time because it clogs your extra monster zone. But as you can see, I have nothing else I can turn this level 8 Minerva into. I don't run level 12 synchros, I don't run rank 8 Exceeds, which maybe you could, but I thought I want to make the yugioh Emerald and the Minerva on my first turn, and I have nothing to turn them into. So what I ended up doing was I did my Dispatter and Omega stuff a lot of the time, and then I would make a yugioh Emerald, shuffle some stuff back, and then I would turn these 2 into an SP, which was part of my end board then. That was, I think, a solid plan, but maybe you can come up with a better one. That's the full extra deck. The side deck was kind of arbitrary because I had no idea what to expect from the locals metagame, so I just like put something for everything. I put in the Biru just in case anyone is playing some crazy combo deck that isn't prepared for it. I played Ash because I was scared of Branded, because as you can see, I have no hand traps in the main deck, so I am scared of getting Gimmick Puppet locked. So I played Ashes and 3 Bestials, which came in pretty clutch against the Branded that I played against. Then I played Cosmics in case of like Runick Stun or other Runick decks, Fire King, Snake Eyes, that kind of stuff. And I played evenly as well. I focused my main time before the locals on building the main deck. I threw the side deck together relatively fast, but I think it was fine for what it was. So yeah, that's the deck. Nothing really else to report. I like the deck quite a bit. I don't think it's the best deck in the format. It's not a Hail Mary solution that destroys Snake Eyes. It was also just the locals. But I've been having a lot of fun with it. I really enjoy having locals in the area again. I'll do stuff like this again in the future where I just like take a deck that I've been wanting to play and take it to locals and tell you guys how it went. Let me know what you think of that type of stuff. Let me know what you think of the deck. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.